and their funding isn't the best, yet the Marine Infantry maintains its proficiency in battle. From scout snipers to recon Marines, the Marine Infantry is also diverse and a force to be reckoned with.
Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, so today we're checking out a video from the YouTube channel, General Discharge. Now, I know a lot of y'all have been recommending this channel specifically for a very long time. Now, I have been checking out their videos here and there, but this one is very highly requested, and it just makes sense for me to do a reaction to this one, because this is Army Infantry versus Marine Infantry. Now, if you're new to the channel, and if you don't understand why I put Marine in my YouTube video if I'm currently Army, so I was Marine Corps Infantry, then I turned into Army Infantry. So I think this video will be really cool to check out. We saw a video previously where they compared the Army Infantry against the Marine Corps Infantry. And that was really cool to check out and actually really accurate as far as like the facts and all the information that they actually put into it. Really solid stuff. Again, General Discharge, from what I heard, this is a really solid YouTube channel as far as getting the facts straight and getting a good understanding of what's going on. So I'm excited to get into this one. Again, a lot of y'all have been requesting this. I'm a little bit late because, I mean, you guys were requesting this about a month ago when this came out. So I apologize on that one. But let's check this one out. Should be good. But of course, if you guys aren't subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think in the comment section about the channel so far, especially if y'all are new here. Yeah, you can see I do have the new background. Again, it's not filled out just yet, so I will be working on that. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for subscribing and following the videos. I appreciate y'all. So let's get into this video.
U.S. Army Infantry.
Nice effect.
U.S. Marine Infantry.
Ooh, that's so clean. Okay, hold on. That just looks so sick. I don't know if that was like proprietary, like how they actually did all this, but I really like the effects on that, especially, I don't know, just this little reflection here.
U.S. Marine.
Yeah, good job. Keep that up. That's awesome.
Two of the most skilled and equipped infantries in the entire world. What sets them apart?
Hell yeah.
What do they have in common? What can they do? Let's take a dive into what you need to know about Army Infantry and Marine Infantry.
Some pretty new footage, what I saw there with the HK, with those rifles there, especially painted. So I like the up-to-date footage for sure. Hopefully I don't get copyright claimed with the music, but I guess we'll figure that out afterwards. Okay.
We'll start off the video with a brief introduction on both of these entities. Let's kick it off with the Army Infantry. The Army Infantry is the ground force and backbone of the Army. From airborne to rangers to pathfinders to air assault, this infantry is not only diverse but very big as well. The Army is more than twice the size of the Marine Corps, and this shows. They have state-of-the-art equipment, ranging from tanks, armored personnel carriers, and infantry fighting vehicles, and a whole...
Okay, I'll cut that off right there. Yes, the Army is much bigger than the Marine Corps. It's crazy. When I switch over from the Marine Corps to the Army, one, you can get stationed in way more places. With the Marine Corps Infantry, it's pretty much Hawaii or East Coast, West Coast. With the Army, you can go all over because there's a bunch of divisions in the Army. So there's a bunch of locations and specialities you can do in the Army. But as a result, I gotta say, not every Army unit has the best equipment. Honestly, you'll find better equipment in the general Marine Corps units. Some of the, the more specialized or, the more famous Army units will have better stuff like the 82nd, 101st, maybe even 10th Mountain Division. They might have a little bit more advanced stuff. But generally speaking, it's hard to get all that good equipment spread out in such a big force.
A lot of funding. The Marine Infantry is the Department of the Navy's fighting ground force. But not only do they attack by ground, they also attack by air and sea. Highly trained and professional, they do more with less. It is known that the Marine Corps is small, and their funding isn't the best, yet the Marine Infantry maintains its proficiency in battle. From scout snipers to recon Marines, the Marine Infantry is also diverse and a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
You just got a brief introduction on both of these elite infantry.
Good intro.
Let's dig a little deeper and go over their capabilities, missions, and opportunities.
Yeah, that was a pretty solid intro. I gotta say, you can't get it much better than that.
Alright, let's go over the capabilities, missions, and opportunities for both of these infantries. As we just said, the Army Infantry has a lot of soldiers, equipment, and funding. it is much bigger than the Marine infantry. So while there will be a lot of overlap on how things are done, there will be some key differences here. For starters, you'll have a lot more responsibility at a lower rank in the Marine infantry as compared to the Army infantry.
Very
Due to
true.
the Marine Corps' culture and size, Marines typically take on bigger roles and positions at a lower rank as compared to their Army counterparts.
That is very, very true. So in the Marine Corps, I was a squad leader, so I was in charge of 12 other Marines when I was a corporal. So that's very different from what you'd see with the Army. In the Army, so in the Marine Corps, a corporal is an E4. In the Army, an E4 is a specialist or a corporal, and they're generally not used for more than a team leader. Sometimes they might be a squad leader, but that's very, very rare. Very rare. So yeah, you'll see with the Marine Corps, people will be doing stuff at a lower rank, and that's just because it's smaller. It's harder to get promoted in the Marine Corps infantry, especially just because there's a lot more competition. Now in the Army, the infantry gets promoted first because, the Army infantry is pretty massive. There's a lot of people, not as much competition, a lot easier to get promoted as opposed to other jobs. Now in the Marine Corps infantry, it's a lot smaller and way more competitive, so it usually takes a little bit longer. So in the Marine Corps, to get an E4, to get corporal usually takes maybe 3.5, maybe even 4 years. In the Army, you can get E4 pretty easily in like 2 years and some change. So yeah, there's definitely a difference there, especially with the responsibilities.
The Army infantry is better equipped for long-term engagements due to it being more of an occupational force. While the Marine infantry is a striking assault force, the Army is better equipped for sustained combat. We'll put it to you like this. The Marine infantry could attack an enemy's base and get them to fall back, and the U.S. Army infantry would take over and occupy that same base while the Marine infantry moves on to the next area to take over. There's a lot more complexities involved in that scenario, but we try to keep it simple stupid here at General Discharge. We're sure some of you are very familiar with that concept. The Army has tanks, whereas the Marine infantry is getting rid of theirs. There's a lot of restructuring going on in the Marine Corps currently, and the Marine infantry is being affected. Known as Force Design 2030, there are tons of changes headed their way for the Marine Corps. By looking at what's going on, a way of looking at the two different entities is that Marine infantry is more of a light infantry force, whereas the Army infantry is more of a heavy infantry force. Another key difference between the Army and Marine infantry is the fact that the Marines have amphibious capabilities, whereas the Army infantry does not.
Right, so when you're talking about the Army, it is really that occupying force. So it's much bigger. It's going to be used for occupying larger areas. You will see them get deployed more often, but they sort of rotate through all the units. In the Marine Corps, it's not as easy to deploy as many people because the Marine Corps is smaller and they're not generally used as like a big occupying force. Just the fact that the Marine Corps is amphibious really changes the ability for what they can be used for and what they are really used for. But yes, they are going through a huge redesign right now, and I think it's definitely for the better. A lot of people have gripes, especially about getting rid of the tanks, but I think the Marine Corps does a pretty good job of knowing what it needs to be doing and prioritizing things so it stays relevant, because again, you do have the U.S. Army infantry, and that's a huge force. So the Marine Corps really, it serves a very niche purpose, and they need to stay modern and stay adaptive.
Remember, the Marines are in the Department of the Navy, so they will have many operations that are closely integrated with naval ships and amphibious assault vehicles. Amphibious warfare is the name of the game for the Marine Corps. And speaking of the Navy is closer to the Marine infantry than you think. Unlike the Army, which has its own organic combat medics, also referred to as 68 Whiskeys, who are attached to them, the Marines do not have their own medical assets. They pull from the Navy, with the majority of them being corpsmen. If you want to learn more about corpsmen, stick with us until the end. Okay.
I can't say enough good things about Navy corpsmen, honestly. They're basically like infantry Marines, except they have this medical specialty. And I will say they integrate much better than any combat medic I've seen in the U.S. Army. And that's going to be dependent on each unit, but I can see corpsmen really integrate well with the Marines.
So you get the gist of what these infantries are. What are their career fields like, as well as their opportunities?
Very different.
In the Army, if you're an infantryman, you're either an 11 Alpha, 11 Bravo, or an 11 Charlie. An 11 Alpha is an infantry officer. An 11 Bravo is your standard infantryman, and 11 Charlie is an indirect fire infantryman, otherwise known as a mortarman. This means that you get to serve in the Army infantry as either an enlisted or an officer. In the Marines, you're an 03. There's a lot of other MOSs you can get further in your infantry career. We'll focus on the core ones. The core enlisted Marine infantry MOSs are 0311, 0331, 0341, 0351, and 0352. Then there's 0301, which is your basic infantry officer.
Yep.
So this also
All
means
true.
you can serve as both enlisted or officer in the Marine infantry. As far as
Yeah, so that's all very accurate. I know I've been hearing when I was in the Marine Corps infantry that they're trying to get rid of the assault man, the 0351, but it never really happened. I'm not sure if it's still happening now or if it's even an idea, but that's what we kept hearing. But yeah, it's really awesome like having this ability to choose this many jobs, especially with the infantry. There's a huge difference between being a machine gunner and a rifleman. So in the Army, when you're being switched out from a machine gun squad to a rifle squad, it's a very different mindset, and it really doesn't work out that well. So the Marine Corps infantry, you have that job and you specialize with those weapons and you specialize with those tactics, and it works really well.
As far as follow-on training, there's a lot of opportunities for both of these career fields. In the Army infantry, you can go airborne. Did you know
Yep.
General Discharge has an Instagram? We actively post memes, video updates, and whatever else we feel like. Join
All
the
right,
team and
that's
follow
one
us
way
at
to do it.
general.discharge. Links in the description. Now back to the video.
There you
Air
go.
Assault, Ranger, Pathfinder, go to Sniper School, and much more.
Yep.
It just depends on your unit. In the Marines,
Very
you can become
true.
a Scout Sniper, Recon Marine. In rare circumstances, go to Jump School, and in even rarer circumstances, Ranger School. Again, right place and right time.
Yeah, very, very rare. I don't know anyone who's gone to jump school. Well, yeah, I know MARSOC people who go to jump school. That makes sense. But I don't know a normal infantryman who's gone to jump school in the Marine Corps or Ranger school. But yeah, it is very, very rare.
Time with some of these schools. By default, the Army has much more opportunities for training and the like due to its size and funding, whereas the Marines do not. While there's a
True.
lot of differences between the Army and Marine infantry, they're still both infantry. There's tons of overlap with how they do things, as well as culture. With that out of the way,
Very
you
true.
now know some key similarities and differences between them. We're now going to go over the structure of both of these infantries, as well as go over where you can be stationed. After that, we will go over the training pipelines and requirements for both of them.
All right, fun stuff. Man, there's nothing like throwing a hand grenade. It's just one of the most badass things ever.
Let's start off with the structure of the U.S. Army Infantry. Just keep in mind, the Army is a much bigger branch than the Marine Corps, and its makeup is more complex. We'll
Yeah.
keep things simple for you here. The U.S. Army employs 3 different types of infantry: light infantry, striker infantry, and mechanized infantry. Light
Okay.
infantry has airborne infantry, air assault infantry, and ranger infantry. You can think of striker infantry as medium infantry, and mechanized infantry as heavy or armored infantry.
Okay, so I am still new to the Army, relatively speaking, but I don't know. It's harder to learn about these things after the fact, especially since I came into the Army infantry as an NCO. So being light infantry the entire time I was in the Marine Corps and then going light infantry in the Army, I don't know a whole lot about mechanized or striker infantry. I think generally it's just light infantry and mechanized from what I've heard, and mechanized would be like the strikers. So I'm interested. Maybe I can actually learn something through this video that I didn't learn in the Army yet.
Understand the breakdown of the U.S. Army Infantry, we're just going to give you the breakdown of the Army as a whole. This will give you a basic understanding of it all.
Okay.
Alright, the structure of the U.S. Army is as follows. At the
Complicated.
top, there's armies. Armies consist of corps, and each corps has divisions.
Yep.
Divisions have brigades or regiments. Brigades or regiments typically have 3 to 5 battalions. These battalions have 4 to 6 companies, and the
Yep.
companies have 3 to 4 platoons.
Yes. Okay. So the makeup of the Army is so confusing. In the Marine Corps, you have 1st Marine Division on the West Coast, 2nd Marine Division on the East Coast, and then it breaks down to the regiments that are located at those duty stations, and then it breaks down into the battalions. So you have the 1st Battalion, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Battalion underneath the regiment. But in the Army, you can have, this battalion of this regiment in this duty station, and then you can have a battalion of the same regiment on the other side of the U.S. So for example, I was in the 3rd Brigade, 10th Mountain Division, and underneath the 3rd Brigade, 10th Mountain Division, you have 2-2, 2-4, and 2-30, which is 2nd Battalion, 4th Infantry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Regiment, and 30th Infantry Regiment. Very confusing. I'm not going to get into it, and he's probably not going to get into it because he's trying to keep it very simple, but the Army is not that simple.
Each platoon has 2 to 3 squads, and these squads have 2 fire teams. An Army fire team consists of 4 soldiers, which are a team leader, an automatic rifleman, a grenadier, and a rifleman. there you go. You now have a basic understanding of how the U.S. Army is organized. Let's move on to the structure of the
Generally
U.S.
speaking,
Marine
yeah, that's
Infantry.
accurate.
Since it's a much smaller entity, it is a bit easier to be specific. The Marine Infantry is the largest component of the ground combat element, or GCE, of anything within the Marine Corps. Whether it's a MEF, a MEB, a MU, or a MAGTAF, there will always be a GCE element. Within the Marine Infantry, there are 4 divisions: 1st Marine Division, 2nd Marine Division, 3rd Marine Division, and 4th Marine Division. 1st and 2nd MARDIV have 3 Marine regiments, and 3rd and 4th MARDIV have 2. Within these regiments are battalions. 1st and 2nd have 9 battalions, 3rd has 6, and 4th has 8. So if you hear that someone was in 1-3, that means that they were in 1st Battalion, 3rd Marine Regiment. The more you know. Okay, so now we're on to the battalion level. A Marine Infantry battalion consists of 3 rifle companies, a weapons company, and a headquarters and service company.
So this might seem a lot more confusing as far as the breakdown, but it's much nicer to have a weapons company because these will be like the larger mortar elements. And this H&S company, that'll be where all the headquarters is. So in the Army, you have an HHC, which is a headquarters company inside of the battalion. And it just gets kind of messy as far as like the organization and the ownership, because you have this administrative company with these other line companies, and it's kind of hard for a battalion commander to be in charge of that when they have very different jobs.
A rifle company will contain 3 rifle platoons, a weapons platoon, and a company headquarters. A platoon will have 3 rifle squads and a headquarters element. These rifle squads are made up of 3 fire teams.
Just bringing back memories.
Teams are made up of 4 Marines. The fire team is the most basic element of the GCE. It contains a team leader, a rifleman, an automatic rifleman, and assistant automatic rifleman. So there you go. Now you know the basic breakdown of the Marine Infantry. Alright, now you know the structure of both the Army Infantry and Marine Infantry. We're now going to go over where you can be stationed in both of these communities.
This is going to be
Start
interesting.
off with the Army Infantry and then move on to the Marine Infantry. If you find yourself in the U.S. Army Infantry, some of the places you can be stationed at are Fort Riley, Kansas, Fort Lewis, Washington, Fort Stewart, Georgia, Fort Carson, Colorado.
There's a lot.
Fort Bliss, Texas, Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Drum, New York, Fort Polk, Louisiana, Fort Wainwright, Alaska, Fort Richardson, Alaska, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Okay, now on to the Marine Infantry. If you find yourself in the Marine Infantry,
it's gonna be a lot
mainly
shorter.
Stationed at Camp Pendleton, California, 29 Palms, California, and Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Not much of a selection compared to your Army counterparts. That's for sure. Alright, now you know where you might be stationed if you get into the
East
Army
Coast, West
and Marine
Coast.
Infantry. Now you're probably wondering what kind of training is required for both of these. Let's get into it.
Alright, let's do it. Yeah, again, it was crazy. When I was switching from the Marine Corps to the Army, I started looking at all the bases you can get stationed at, and it's bizarre. Like, I got stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana, and I'm like, first of all, I didn't even hear a whole lot about Louisiana, because being from New York, you don't really hear a whole lot about it. It's New York, New Jersey, that area. You don't hear a whole lot about the South in general. So when I'm like, the Army has an installation in Louisiana, that's kind of cool. And then I go there, and it's really not that special. But it's just cool to be able to go to all these different locations and experience different parts of the U.S. because they're all very, very different from each other.
We're going to start off with the training required to become a Marine Infantryman first, then go over the armies. To get into the Marine Infantry, you'll have to go to boot camp, which is 13 weeks long, and then get through ITB, which is 8 weeks long. ITB stands for Infantry Training Battalion, which is conducted at the School of Infantry West, which is in Camp Pendleton, California, and School of Infantry East, which is at Camp Geiger, North Carolina.
I gotta say, I don't remember anything from the School of Infantry or ITB. I don't really remember a whole lot about it. It was cool. I got to shoot a lot of guns, but aside from that, it's just straight learning infantry stuff and going out on the weekend doing dumb stuff. So yeah, it can be a good time, or it can just be really boring. Like, it was pretty boring for me, to be honest.
ITB trains, develops, and certifies Marines as riflemen, machine gunners, mortarmen, infantry assaultmen, and anti-tank missilemen in order to provide basically qualified infantrymen for service in the operating forces. Marines will receive training in marksmanship, grenades, land navigation, patrolling, and much more. There's also
A lot.
MCMAP, which stands for Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, and we're sure you saw this coming. There's a lot of PT, conditioning, and hikes.
Yep.
And a quick fun fact for you, starting in 2021, which is when this video came out, the Marine Corps is testing out a different infantry training curriculum that will be a longer course of instruction for infantry Marines. This is part of the restructuring of the Marine Corps we mentioned to you earlier.
Yeah, I heard about that. I wonder if they're trying to do that in response to the Army doing the extended infantry training, because in the Army they have the basic training mixed in with the infantry training called the one station unit training, and that's like 22 weeks. So I think the Marine Corps is trying to go with that just so they can have more experienced and more, I guess, just more disciplined infantrymen, as opposed to teaching them infantry stuff for 8 weeks and then kick them out to the unit. I think if they take a little bit more time to dwell on certain things, it'll be a much better product at the end.
Even talks of consolidating all of the MOSs into one. Only time will tell if that happens for sure or not, though.
Bad idea.
If you want to become a Marine infantry officer, you'll have to go through OCS, then TBS, and then IOC, which stands for Infantry Officer Course. If you want to know more about OCS and TBS, stick with us until the end of the video where we'll point you in the right direction. Let's move on to the training you go through if you want to join the Army Infantry. It all happens at one place, OSUT. OSUT stands for One Station Unit Training.
There you go.
OSUT puts you through boot camp as well as your AIT with the same instructors. Infantry OSUT is 22 weeks long and is located at Fort Benning, Georgia. During your time in infantry school, you will learn these skills. Pause the screen to take a longer look. If you want to become an infantry officer, after you commission, you'll go to the Infantry Basic Officer Leader course. So yeah, it's pretty cut and dry for both of these communities. Now you know what school.
Yeah, I didn't go to Fort Benning, so I'm not exactly sure what kind of training they get there. But I did go to the Advanced Leader course when I was becoming a staff sergeant, and we actually ran a squad of these basic trainees. And I gotta say, they were pretty impressive as far as their discipline and their efficiency and just their overall physical fitness, because they did extend it to the 22 weeks. So it definitely worked out in a positive way, for sure.
Schools you'll be expected to attend if you decide to embark on either of these journeys. But do you even qualify to give it a shot? Let's see.
All right, what are the requirements now? Yep. This will be interesting.
This section is going to be pretty quick. To qualify to be a Marine or Army infantryman, you'll pretty much just have to fit the basic service requirements for the branches. If you want to become an officer in either of these fields, you'll need a bachelor's degree in literally anything, even underwater basket weaving if that's your style.
Potatoes
These are very
accepted.
large and broad career fields, which means their requirements won't be as stringent as soft communities are. But that by no means says that they are any less important or admirable. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Alright, we're about to wrap up this video, but don't go just yet. We're going to go over some other videos that you should definitely go check out.
Yeah, so along with the requirements, in the Army, you have different levels you need to pass the physical fitness exam. So with these 3 levels, the minimum that you need to get is going to be different, and the infantry is at the highest level. So you need to get a higher minimum than someone who, say, has an administrative job. So it kind of works out. You do have this, it's called an OPAT, which is basically a test you do to make sure that you can go into the job. It's very, very easy. It doesn't really do a whole lot, I gotta say.
During this video, you learn that the Army Infantry and Marine Infantry are quite similar, yet very different. They're both highly trained in combat, but both have different specialties and purposes that they execute. The Army is more land-based, whereas the Marines are more amphibious. The Army Infantry is much bigger than the Marine Infantry and gets much more funding than the Marines too. But at the end of the day, they're both crucial to the success of our military operations and work in concert with each other to keep us safe. That leads us to our question for you. If you made it this far with us, which do you prefer? Army Infantry or Marine Infantry?
Well, I have
Leave us a comment on what you think.
I have the Marine Infantry tattoo in my finger, and I gotta say, I don't have an 11 Bravo tattoo yet, so there you go.
Now on to the videos we got for you. First one up is our video on corpsmen, the enlisted medical asset for the Navy and Marine Corps. You definitely have to watch that.
Yeah, I definitely need to check that out. Again, corpsmen are freaking awesome, I gotta say. There's not a whole lot of bad things you could say about corpsmen. They integrate themselves better than a lot of other infantry Marines actually do. It's cool to see the difference between the Army Infantry and the Marine Infantry, especially when you get all the stuff as far as the breakdown, the requirements of training, and put it up on a screen in one video. It's really cool to sort of analyze it and compare everything side by side. So Really solid video, very accurate. Again, there was not a whole lot I could have said about it. Again, it is going to be very different. Your experience is going to vary depending on what unit you go to, and even depending on what time you go to the unit. So it can be very subjective as far as what you actually experience. But yeah, if you guys are trying to make the decision between Army infantry or Marine infantry, you can, drop a comment, ask any questions down in the comment section, and I can try and facilitate an answer. Again, I did get out of the Marine Corps about 4 years ago, so it might not be the most up to date, but I've heard the most up to date as far as the infantry and the Marine Corps reorganization through my buddies who are still in. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw that down in the comment section. Again, I do have videos of me explaining why I switched from the Marine Corps to the Army. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, if you're trying to ask questions about the Army's basic training, I can't give you a whole lot of advice for that because I didn't have to go through it. So yeah, perks of being a Marine, I guess. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is really awesome to check out. I will definitely have to check out more stuff from General Discharge. Very cool stuff, very accurate stuff especially. And it's kind of cool how he has the voice modulator. I think it's cool at least. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section regardless. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider subscribing. I do appreciate it. Again, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. I will continue to fill up my background with a bunch of cool knickknacks that you guys can look at while I'm doing these reaction videos if you'd like to do that. But yeah, that's it for this video. I will see y'all in the next one.